The sun rose over the plains of Marengo, Italy, on June 14, 1800. It promised to be a day of intense heat. It would also prove to be a day of destiny. On these sun-drenched fields, two great armies prepared for battle. The fate of France, and perhaps even Europe, hung in the balance. On one side stood Napoleon Bonaparte. He was the first consul of France. He was a rising star, a brilliant military mind. He was determined to solidify his grip on power. On the other side stood the might of the Austrian Empire, led by the veteran general Michael von Melas. He was a seasoned commander. He was confident in his army's strength. He was eager to crush this upstart Corsican who dared to challenge Austrian dominance. The French army was outnumbered. They were weary from months of campaigning, but they were united by their faith in Napoleon. He was their charismatic leader. He inspired them with tales of past glories and promises of future triumphs. The Austrian army, larger and better equipped, exuded confidence. They looked down upon the French. They believed in a swift and decisive victory. The stakes could not have been higher. For Napoleon, Marengo was more than a battle. It was a test of his leadership, his ambition, and his destiny. A defeat here would be disastrous, likely spelling the end of his meteoric rise. Victory would cement his position as the master of France and send shockwaves throughout Europe. The battle began in the early morning mist. The French, with their customary élan, launched a furious assault on the Austrian lines, but Melas, a wily old fox, was ready for them. He had anticipated Napoleon's moves. He had set a trap. The Austrians, their lines bristling with cannons, unleashed a devastating barrage. The French attack stalled. They were met with fierce resistance. The sound of cannon fire and musketry filled the air, a deadly symphony of war. The French soldiers fought with courage and determination, but the Austrians seemed unstoppable. As the hours passed, the tide of battle began to turn in favor of the Austrians. Their superior numbers and firepower were taking their toll. The French, their initial attacks repulsed, found themselves on the defensive. Napoleon, usually so calm and collected, watched with growing concern as his carefully laid plans unraveled before him. By midday, the situation had become critical for the French. They were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Their lines were crumbling under the relentless Austrian onslaught. Melas, sensing victory, threw more troops into the fray. He was determined to break the French resistance once and for all. The sun beat down mercilessly as if mirroring the heat of the battle. The French troops, exhausted and demoralized, began to give way. Their formations, once so disciplined, dissolved into a chaotic retreat. It seemed as if Napoleon's gamble had failed, his star finally extinguished on the fields of Marengo. Melas, believing the battle won, retired to his headquarters. He left his subordinates to mop up the remnants of the French army. Word of the French retreat spread through the Austrian ranks like wildfire. They believed victory was at hand. They became overconfident. This would prove to be a fatal mistake. Napoleon, however, refused to concede defeat. His face, usually so boyish and animated, hardened with resolve. He rode among his beleaguered troops, rallying them with his words, his presence a beacon of hope in the gathering gloom. He knew that all was not lost. He had one last card to play. As fate would have it, just when all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of light appeared on the horizon. General Louis Desailles, a trusted lieutenant and a brilliant commander in his own right, arrived on the battlefield with a fresh contingent of French troops. Desailles, alerted to the dire situation, had marched his men through the night, covering an incredible distance to reach his commander in this hour of need. His arrival was greeted with cheers from the exhausted French soldiers. It was as if their prayers had been answered. Napoleon, seeing Desailles, embraced his comrade warmly. "This little Monsieur Desailles," he is said to have remarked, "always arrives on the battlefield just when he's most needed." Desailles, a seasoned campaigner, quickly assessed the situation. He conferred with Napoleon. They devised a daring plan to turn the tide of battle. Time was of the essence. The Austrians, still celebrating their supposed victory, were caught off guard. They would soon realize their error.